Good morning, good afternoon, guys. I hope you're having a good day so far. As far as today goes, what we are going to work on is, I got the wrong one here. We are going to look at completing this graphic organizer, methods for solving quadratic equations. We have 3 methods that we've learned, and we're going to kind of summarize all those in this graphic organizer. I'm going to show you guys what you need to fill in. We're going to be broken off into pairs, so one group is going to fill in these 2 squares, and then the other group will fill in the other 2 squares, and you guys will trade off and share the information with each other. I'll explain that in class so it's a little bit more clear, but first let's start by looking at solve quadratics by factoring. So this is the first I guess let's call it the first group or the first square. Solve quadratics by factoring. So we're going to look at what does it mean to be solving by factoring. What does it look like? What you're going to write down is your graphic organizer is blank, so you're going to write down these 2 equations. The first thing we need to understand is that this is the standard form. It's the standard form of quadratic equation, so it must look like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to factor. We're going to take this equation and we're going to factor it so that it looks like this. We're basically breaking it down into its multiples. X plus some number times x plus some other number is going to equal 0. And the multiplication of these 2 binomials will bring us back up here. So we're just kind of breaking this equation down into we're breaking one equation down into 2 equations. Okay. Please write all this down in your graphic organizer. And then you're going to scroll down to skip this one. When can we use it? And I want you to fill in the steps. What are the steps? Well, the first step here is we need to find the factors or factor the equation. That's where we're breaking it out into 2 binomials. And then you're going to set each term equal to 0. So that's where we set like whatever the factors are, x minus n or x plus n is equal to 0. And then the second one is x or minus plus m, that's equal to 0. Whatever these numbers are, you're going to set them equal to 0, and you're going to solve for x as your last step, or solve for the variable. So these steps is what I want you to write down in your graphic organizer if you're in group 1. Let's take a look at the second column. This is called completing the square. This is what we looked at on Friday. Again, we're going to start off with the standard equation. So sometimes when we're factoring, it doesn't always work out that we can factor into nice even numbers. So we might have to do completing the square first. What we do is we take this number, we isolate the variables by taking whatever this number is to the other side of the equal. And then the coefficient, whatever number is in front of the x, we're going to take it, we're going to divide by 2, then we're going to square it, and we're going to replace that, whatever was there is now going to be this quantity, okay? You'll have a new trinomial, we're going to simplify that, and then we'll factor it just like we did with factoring. Let's look at the steps for this. What are the actual steps for completing the square? This is what I want you to write down in your graphic organizer. Number 1, if a is equal to 1, then you go to step 2. If a is not equal to 1, then you have to divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient. Then you isolate the variable by moving the c to the other side. Number 3 is what I showed you up there. You complete the square by inserting b divided by 2 quantity squared. So the whole thing squared where c was. Then you're going to factor the new trinomial. So this part is kind of the same as factoring. Factor the new trinomial, and then use the square root property to solve for x. Okay? As far as these steps go, those are the steps to complete the square. And then the last section I want you to fill in is using the quadratic formula. This is what we learned yesterday. You've got this nice formula that can be used to solve for x at any equation. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. All of that is divided by 2 times a. Your partner will give you the when can we use it. and I want you to write down the steps. What are the steps? Well, the first one is you're going to substitute the coefficients of a, b, and c. So let me go back up here and show you that. We need to add this in. X squared plus something x plus c equals 0. Whatever the coefficient in front of x squared, whatever the coefficient in front of x, and whatever the c value is, these are the letters that we substitute into the equation. Okay, you see a b, you see a b, you see an a and a c. Those are coming from whatever these numbers are. So the first step is you substitute the coefficients of a, b, and c into the equation. You solve for x, then you follow order of operations while you're doing that, and then you have to make sure that you're very careful about mistakes in order of operations. So what I want you guys to do is make sure you copy all of this down into your graphic organizer. Where are we at? Right here. You should have copied all this down. Your partners are going to get the when we can use it and the examples, and then you guys are going to swap the information with each other. Okay? So let me see where my controls. Where are the controls for Screencastify? How do I stop my recording? Oh, there it is.